Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 161 today. It is Friday, December 29th. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
So, as you guys probably imagine, this is the last show of 2017. We're heading into 2018 in just a couple of days, 2.5 days, something like that. Either way, we just want to do one final show, talk about a little bit about the year, talk about what's coming up, some things that stuck out. We got CES. I don't know. This is just some stuff to talk about. We don't have a lot of news to cover. We just want to chat about 2017. A lot of stuff. It was a pretty good year. I mean, overall, lots of good stuff, lots of good phones. We did our favorite phone of the year post this week. So yeah, let's just get into this. Well, first of all, we're at episode 161, which is a lot. I don't know how many we did this year. I feel like we did more episodes this year than maybe the last year or something.
Well, we really tried to be consistent, and I always say consistency is key. So as long as we're doing like one a week or one every other week, I mean, that's good.
Yeah, not bad. I feel like, we got going a lot more this year than we have in maybe the last couple of years. So anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone, for this entire year. It's another year in the books. We've been doing this now for, Droid Life was started in December of 2009. I mean, it wasn't like fully going until 2010 really, but like we've been doing this a little bit. We've been doing it a while.
Yeah, we're not young bloods, not rookies.
No, we are not. All right, so let's start though with our favorite phone of the year. This is one of those things we try to do every year. Like, we don't necessarily call it like the phone of the year awards or anything. We just go like, look, this is the phone we like. We don't necessarily hand out awards ever, but we always try to put together a list of like the phone that we tend to at the end of the year, because we talk about how at the end of every year is like we get this break where we get to settle into a phone for a little bit. It's usually kind of one of those times where we go, all right, well, this is the phone we want to settle into. So we chose Pixel 2 XL.
Wow.
I think I said this on Twitter, but I think this was one of the easier decisions we've had in recent memory. Like last year it was OnePlus 3T, which is kind of controversial, right? A little controversial, kind of out of nowhere that swooped in there. You know, we had like a Moto X and Moto X second gen, which kind of threw some people because those phones had garbage cameras. This phone though, it was kind of easy. It's Google's like flagship phone. Excuse me, I'm still sick here. Outside of like the display drama that we had for a couple, I swear that just lasted forever, the like overblown display drama. Outside of that, it's got like front speakers, clean, fast Android, obviously the updates, got a cool design. I mean, you and I are each using the black and white 2XL. So, it's a cool looking phone. And then obviously the camera is probably the best smartphone camera you can buy. I mean, we're still thinking that, right? I mean, I know the Note 8 has an incredible camera. So does the S8. But this Pixel camera just has some magic going on.
It's really good. I mean, like you said, super easy decision this year. Unlike other years, especially last year. Last year was really tough. Just because there were a lot of good phones. I mean, of course, the original Pixel and Pixel XL were really good. But there's something about the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL specifically that really just make it stand head and shoulders above the others. I mean, it's got that great camera, awesome software experience, great hardware. It's going to get fast updates. It's really just that complete package that an Android user should be looking for. And I know, I mean, the Note 8 is great, and the Pixel 2 is also kind of priced similarly as the Galaxy Note 8, but with the updates and just the software experience, I mean, there's just something about the Pixel 2 XL that really just kind of set it apart this year. And the way that Google improved it with the water resistance, the dual front-facing speakers, it's really just a phone that, I mean, I don't know if there's any real negatives. Of course, you can always come up with, certain things like it doesn't have a headphone jack or wireless charging. So there are those certain things that it's missing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, every phone's missing something, right? So
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Like the Galaxy Note 8, missing good software.
Yeah.
One of those things I find fascinating though is most tech media types, which we fall into, we often gravitate towards like Google's phone, right? These like stock Android phones. And I don't necessarily know why that is, because we get we definitely have readers who are like big Samsung fans, big LG fans. and even HTC fans, right? And they always kind of go like, why do you guys like, why is it always like Google's phone? Why do you like stock Android? It doesn't have all these cool features that like these Samsung phones have. And I don't know why that is. The only way I can come up with why we always tend to go back towards these like stock Android phones is because we do play with all of those other phones, right? Like we play with LG's phone and their software. And we play with all of Samsung's phones for a lot, like half the year, I feel like. And we use their software. And then every time we switch back to a Google phone, it's so refreshing. And so I know like people always go, well, it doesn't have anything you're overpaying for, especially this phone, it's expensive. But it's like we always kind of come back, right? Like it's just such a fast, clean, refreshing experience that just doesn't feel like it's Samsung, like just overlaying everything into this weird Samsung vision that for whatever reason just doesn't really do it for us when we start using these other phones. So I know a lot of people are probably like the Note 8 should be it, or the Galaxy S8 should be phone of the year, or whatever. But it's just like, to us, this is our favorite phone of the year, which is kind of why we phrase it that way. Like we like it because it's the experience that we like. So
yeah, I think we like to emphasize that this is our personal opinion and by no means law of the land. Well, maybe in Droid Life land, but I mean, your opinion can be yours, mine can be mine, everyone else's can be everyone else's. I mean, and that's what's so nice about Android, right? I mean, if you have an iPhone, you're sort of stuck into liking one of 3 devices that are out at the time. So
at least this year they have choice, right? Like there could be like
bit,
iPhone 8 fanboys versus iPhone 10 fanboys, which is kind of fun. Like they can do that battle that we've gotten to do for so long.
That's true.
Do you think there really are like iPhone 8 fanboys that are like, no, it's classic, it's got the button, and the iPhone 10 guys are like, no, we don't need that, we got gestures? Like they have these really like petty back and forth, probably. I hope they do.
I'm sure that would be great. I guess I just can't imagine. I mean, oh boy. But yeah, no, like you said though, this year was super easy, and I'm thankful. I'm kind of excited about maybe what the next year will bring in terms of what could be Pody next year.
Yeah, so we also ran a poll just to see what everyone else's favorite phone was, and it was Pixel 2 XL. Like almost 50% of our readers said that's their favorite phone.
Yeah, I guess we should also just highlight the display drama that was sort of overblown, hyperbole by the tech media, in that the blue tint and the graininess of the OLED panel in this phone. I gotta say, yeah, when I first booted it up, it was bluer, but then Google sent out that update that allowed you to choose sort of like your display's temperature, and I set it to this kind of overly saturated look. And ever since then, I mean, it just doesn't bug me. If I'm holding it up to another phone that, say, isn't this kind of cool OLED panel, then of course, it's noticeable, but it's not a downside to having the phone. Like some of my pictures look cooler on this display than when I upload them on social media and look at them on a computer or something. But I mean, that's not life altering stuff. So I guess I just wanted to add to the fact that I don't appreciate tech media trying to knock down the Pixel 2 XL for having kind of really like a non-issue. Just it's sort of like a quirk to it, like it's not like a bad thing necessarily, like maybe a small oversight by Google, but I didn't think it was the end of the world like some people thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using it off and on since it came out. Like I jumped onto the OnePlus 5T for a little bit. I think another phone in there. Like I feel like we've done so many reviews this year, and now back on the 2XL, and yeah, like you kind of see the subtle cool tint to it over even say like the OnePlus 5T. But the 5T, like I always tune it a little cooler anyway. I prefer actually, rather than looking at yellowish display, I would rather be on the bluer side anyway. But I don't know. I've been using it like all day, every day for the last probably, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. I haven't noticed a thing. Like I haven't gone, man, this display sucks. Actually, the only thing I do notice is at night when I'm like on Twitter or even Instagram or something, and it like the display's turned down and there's blacks in something like a picture, and when you scroll, those things like they ghost this like weird jelly effect really bad. I don't know that that's enough for me to like throw the phone away and go to Google's product forums and create a thread and complain. I mean, like, I don't know, like it's just it's one of the flaws of the display, I guess. But display drama.
It's quirky.
Yeah. And we tried to talk about this a long time ago that people just need to get the phone in their hands, give it a shot. You decide if the display is an issue for you, and apparently 50% of our readers don't think it's an issue. So
apparently not.
But remember, initially we were just Google fanboys, and we were defending the indefensible, whatever. And we shouldn't have been doing that. It was irresponsible, Tim. I mean, we just shouldn't have done that. We should have told everyone to not buy it, apparently.
Yeah, I guess I want to personally apologize for not, kind of jumping on the hate wagon. But that's just me, man. Yeah. I try and look at the bright side. I can deal with like a cool display. What can I say? I mean, we're so adaptable as creatures. It's ridiculous.
Plus, the rest of the phone is pretty incredible. So
freaking awesome. I mean, the camera alone, like if the display only showed blue and couldn't do red or green, I would still use it because of the camera.
You're like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'll take blue everything for this camera.
It's not RGB. It's just B. But yeah, that's fine.
That's hilarious. In terms of runners up, though, Galaxy S8 Plus, OnePlus 5T, Galaxy Note 8, kind of all in there together. As you explained in our write-up, the Galaxy S8 Plus is kind of a nice middle ground of the three phones Samsung released, the regular S8, S8 Plus, and Note 8. It just has a more ergonomic, better in-hand feel, I think, than the Note 8. Obviously, you don't get the S Pen, but like the specs are very similar, except it's just easier to hold and use, I thought, which is, I think, kind of why we gave it the nod, maybe even over the Note 8. It's also like $150 cheaper or something like that too, which always helps. OnePlus 5T, which I actually have sitting right here, we threw in there just because for the experience you get here with that price that's still below anyone, even though it's creeping up, it's still, the value there is, you just can't really beat it. Their cameras are improved, and then obviously the Note 8 on there as well. So lots of good phones. I still think it was pretty easy for you and I to just go Pixel 2 XL's the phone that we consider to be our favorite.
Yeah, of course. Also had to give a couple honorable mentions to the Razer phone and the LG V30. Specifically LG, the V30 this year really kind of blew me away, considering I was not a stuff and things, which is what we call the V series.
The stuff and things line, yes.
Yeah, the stuff and things line. LG just kind of, I mean, they broke the mold when they made the V30. What a gorgeous device, industrial design, beautiful display, good camera, software that I said in the post does not make me want to smash my head in with a hammer, because I can't stand LG software typically, but on the V30 it was okay. They did such a 180 in terms of what they brought us last year to this year with the G6 and the V30 that I pray that the trend continues. I think it can only get better, right? If they work on that software some more, it can only get better. I think the hardware was dialed in this year. And then as for the Razer phone, the phone itself may be kind of boring to some. Like, it's just a really big, boxy kind of phone, hard to use. But it's got that 120 hertz refresh rate display, which you can actually feel and see when you're using it compared to another device with only 60 hertz refresh. It just looks smooth. Gaming on it is really nice. Had a lot of power. The speakers were insane. I mean, front-facing speakers. I mean, they blew away the Pixel 2 XL. Almost got nearly as loud as my MacBook Pro. That's just impressive for a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And we know of other outlets that gave it phone of the year that are more designed for gaming readers, and that makes sense, because if you're going to be gaming a lot on a smartphone, then I guess you want the best phone that's designed specifically for gaming. But you and I, we need it for a few more things. We want a better camera, which the Razer phone did not have, and there's just a few other things. I mean, just ease of use is just the main one. I mean, I could barely fit that thing in my pocket. It was massive. 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Like, that's nice, but I like to be able to fit it in my hipster jeans, and I just can't do it.
And the Pixel 2 XL is a big phone. So if you're bigger than that phone, like, you're probably too damn big.
There's something about how the Pixel 2 XL kind of curves on itself and is rounded on the edges and the top. Like, it's a big phone, but it's actually quite manageable. Maybe that's just something you can get used to as well. But Leslie in the chat says, Razer phone existence is wrong by itself. I don't agree. I mean, I like that it's there. I just think that And especially what they did with the 120 hertz refresh rate. I mean, that's something no one else had done. And the fact that Razer's first Android flagship actually has some type of innovation instead of just kind of Frankensteining a next bit Robin and some top tier gaming specs and slapped it all together and called it a Razer phone. They actually innovated it a little bit and did something different. They brought in their THX sound for the dongle and all this cool stuff. They did some neat stuff. Sure,
They
it's
really
super
did.
expensive and the camera's total trash, but it's not that bad. So,
Yeah, no, I haven't used the Razer phone. I'll probably never use one, but I can admit, like, they did some cool stuff. I mean, they built a phone for gamers. They put 128 hertz refresh rate in a display, which is insane. Pumped up the speakers. I mean, the dongle you just mentioned has a DAC in it, so they still give you an audio experience if you want that. A giant battery that lasts forever. I mean, they actually did a whole bunch of cool stuff. Gave you Nova Launcher Prime, like that's cool. The software seems pretty stock. Like they did a lot of stuff. The flaw, obviously, for day-to-day users like us that want an all-around phone, the camera was trash. If the camera wasn't trash, like you might be talking serious here. It also only works on GSM networks, another thing. But I think that it's some cool things. And I also think it's cool that a company like them, who's not a smartphone company, stepped up and actually made a pretty legitimate phone. If you look at that phone and compare it to like the Essential phone, which is made up of a whole bunch of smartphone, like executive, like royalty type people, and the trash phone that, look, we'll talk more about the Essential phone in a little bit. You guys know I actually like it, but I can admit that it's garbage. Like, think about that. Like, Razer destroyed the Essential phone in almost every area. They both have garbage cameras, but you know what I mean? Like, that phone, you could argue, is much better quality than the Essential phone. And it's made from a gaming company, not even a phone company. So, as for the V30, hands down, LG's best phone ever by like a mile and a half, probably. Like the G6 was a big change and a great leap forward from the previous year of failures. The V30, like, just jumped over the G6 without even trying. Like, it is that good of a phone. Display is solid, cameras are solid, the design's great. Like, almost everything about it's really great. It just doesn't quite have like elite status in any of those categories. Like, it doesn't have the best display. I don't know that it has like the full best design, although the design's pretty good. The display cameras are good. I don't know, they're like better than Google's or Samsung. So really, really great phone by LG. Obviously has the DAC built in and stuff like that too, but I don't know. Google's phone was it was easy.
yeah. I'm a little upset and bummed out that LG maybe couldn't have sold more V30s. I mean, of course, we don't know numbers, but the phone just doesn't seem to be all that popular, even though, we were both sort of kind of blown away by, its design and all that. I mean, it's a really good phone. There was just such stiff competition this year with the Note 8 being back and all those people who were hungry for a Note phone after the Note 7 stuff last year, and the Pixel 2 XL is really good. There's a lot of like big phones that are awesome this year. And so when there's so many choices, I wonder what helps people sort of dial in that decision as to what phone they're going to get. You know what I mean? If it was me, I would say, well, what phone is going to get updated quickly? Who can I trust in that department? And
Yeah,
I would just have to lean Google every time.
there are a few companies to trust there. Well,
Yeah,
Essential seems to be updating things, but that's
another story.
about all they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at our poll. So Galaxy Note 8 was in second, 12%. OnePlus 5 5T at 12%. Also, Galaxy S8, S8 Plus at 9%. Then the Moto Z2 line at 6%, even over the V30 at just 4%.
That's sad. That's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, as good as the LG V30 was, it appears to be another phone that people didn't necessarily buy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Essential phone is right there. Although the Essential phone had that massive price drop and stuff like that multiple times. So
It's tough to say though. I mean, the people who voted on that poll, they're such a small pool in the overall ocean of Android users. It would be actually kind of cool just for, me and you to head to our nearest Verizon store and hang out for a day and just ask people who walk in like, "Hey, what Android phone do you think was best this year?" or something like that, And
what's Android?
well, yeah, what's Android? I have an
This
iPhone.
Galaxy phone. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, what makes someone choose what phone it is that they're going to get? I'm assuming it's the one that the Verizon rep says is the best or something like that. And
That is actually an interesting topic, like how people who aren't like tech nerds that read sites like Droid Life, when they decide on a phone, like, are they looking at consumer reports? Like, are they doing that research, or are they just walking in blindly and going, Verizon guy, which phone should I buy? And then to see like what, like that would be a survey actually to have somebody walk and do that and see which phones are getting pushed to the most
That'd be
by
cool.
Verizon people. Like, is it just iPhones or is it just Samsung phones?
Ooh, that means I need to go into like 100 different Verizon
Yeah.
stores and be like, hey, what phone should I get?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. All right, cool. I can do that.
Secretly pocket record everyone.
Absolutely. I'll get recognized too often.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's our favorite phone of the year, Pixel 2 XL. Readers seem to feel the same, and Note 8 right behind him, which is almost where we had it. So
Deal with it.
yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about just some stories that stuck out throughout the year. Maybe not just individual stuff, but just grand scheme of things type of stuff. Like, for one, Google held this press event on October 4th, and it wasn't just a phone event. It was a massive hardware event. I don't think anyone can say that Google is no longer taking hardware seriously. Like, we've had years where they had Nexus devices and we couldn't tell how serious they were about them. They throw out a tablet here and there. They throw out a Chromebook Pixel here and there. They're kind of all over the place. And a lot of that stuff, it never felt like it was truly theirs, right? And then last year they created the Pixel and Pixel XL, and everyone's like, "Ooh, Google's trying to do their own thing." Except this phone just looks like HTC leftover parts. This year, though, it's like it feels like Google is here in hardware. I don't know that they hit everything out of the park. Like the Pixel 2 and 2 XL are great. But like even the Pixel 2 has its flaws. It looks like an older phone that's not all display, right? The Pixel Buds sort of universally panned everywhere. Like, I don't know that anyone that reviewed the Pixel Buds thinks they're awesome. The Pixel Book, while cool, expensive, and I think a lot of us are still wondering like why we should pay $1,000 for a Chromebook. I know we've argued that 1,000 times, just throwing that idea out there. They created Google Home Mini and Max now, which seem like pretty solid, products. Like, I have a Mini right here. I have a Max in my living room and I use them all the time. I don't know that I'm like ready to say like, yes, everyone go spend $400 on a Google Home Max. Like, if anything, everyone should just own a Mini if they really want that stuff. So what else did they make? Well, they made that camera, that clips thing, which is still not available.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I don't know when they said that was coming, actually.
It's supposed to be later this year. Or no, maybe like early 2018. I think it was like January or Feb. I'll look.
Yeah, I can't remember when they said. But like the Google store now is only Google products, right? Like, they kicked out all the Android Wear devices because they don't make one. They kicked out all the Android TV devices, which they don't sell at all anymore, right? They don't sell any Android TV stuff at all. No. So they still have Daydream View and they have the Pixel Buds, but like it's almost all just Google products in there, or stuff that's made for Google or whatever, their special like accessory program. So Google's taking hardware really seriously, and I think it's great. Like, they picked up a bunch of talent from HTC in like one of the weirdest transactions ever, where they paid, how much money did they pay for HTC talent? It was like $1 billion or something, 2 billion. I don't even know.
Too much.
So if anything, it's just this year shows that Google is not, well, they're not really messing around now. The thing is now, like, is can they create that next hit, right? Because they're still battling Amazon and Alexa for your home. They're still battling Apple and Samsung for phones. In computing, like Chromebooks in general are doing well, but is the Pixel Book ever going to be able to top like the MacBook, right? Or even Windows laptops? I mean, like, they're in all of these categories now, right? Except there's already like well-established players that are already kind of just dominating those fields. And so Google has like this really massive uphill battle, and they're not doing like one at a time. Like, they're attacking all of these product categories at a time. And so like, it's going to be tough for them. I think like Google Home could easily succeed because I think it's probably cheap to make that stuff, and they offer deals and they have a range of stuff and they can get in your home, right? And assistants coming to your home anyway from who knows how many projects. But yeah, like Pixel Book, Pixel phones, like those are two tough areas to really, really break into. But either way, I think Google showed this year that they're like, look, we're doing this. Like, we're going all in on hardware. We're creating our own store, our own line of everything. We want to be in every single section of your technology life, which, I mean, if you're a big Google fan, that's fun.
Ecosystem 10. No doubt. It's been fun. And but like we stress, consistency. If Google wants to break into these, different fronts and try to really get some play, they're gonna have to be consistent. It's gonna need to be good software, good hardware. It's just gonna need to stay as prime as it is right now. But not only that, they're gonna need to still innovate and come up with new products. Google Home is awesome. Google Home Mini is awesome. I mean, it's like the best Christmas gift you could ever give to someone, and it's ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
So, but once everyone has a Mini, then you gotta go a step forward, I guess, and think, okay, what else is like necessary, or what else would be awesome? I still want, I like what Amazon has done in terms of the different iterations they have for sort of like what they can do with Alexa and in the show. Or I can't even name like half of the different like Alexa.
Well, and they have that
Echo
cute
products they
Spot
got.
one, right?
Exactly.
Spot, which is the round one that everyone seems to really like because it's like a small version of Show, and Show's terrible, but like Spot looks cool. Like, it's small enough you can put it anywhere.
Exactly. It's like a perfect little alarm clock. Yeah. And I want that, except I want it to be a Google product. That way I don't have to continually rely on two different ecosystems.
Right.
So there's things that Google still can do to make their lineup more exciting and appealing to someone like me who already has all the stuff, except a Pixelbook. I refuse. But it's been great just to see Google get so kind of into it. I mean, we of course remember Nexus and how they had to, work with these other brands, and it was always such a mystery. Like, who are they going to work with this year? But now it's just, all right, who they have making the phone isn't really headline number one. It's sort of like the it's been put in the back seat, and it's really just Google's kind of vision, I guess, and that's exciting. That's
Speaking of that, though, what do you think is going to happen next year with phone? Like, who manufactures these? Because they bought all this talent from HTC, but I'd imagine they'll still use HTC's factories to build these things. But like, is LG going to get another contract for another POLED panel? Like, is it going to be an LG HTC thing again?
I thought they invested like a crap ton of money into LG for their OLED display.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. Are we going to get like an LG HTC thing again? It's fine if we do. We talked about this a lot throughout the year, like consistency with like design and hardware would be great. And we got it sort of with the Pixel 2 and 2 XL, but even things like the cameras and flashes being flipped around and stuff, like those little things are obviously the front designs.
The Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL got a little away from what I had originally thought was going to be like the Pixel idea, where you've got one phone, or you've got two phones, one just being a larger version of the other one. The Pixel 2 XL in the design department is a completely different device from the Pixel 2. And to me, as someone say I want to recommend the Pixel 2 to someone, or the Pixel 2 XL, but they're like, oh, I want like a smaller one. Do they have a smaller one, not the XL version? I'm like, yeah, but it's like kind of really ugly and dumb looking. Like, it looks like a phone from 2010 or something. So I wish we could just do kind of like what Apple does, or what they did last year, where it's like, all right, two devices, one's just bigger than the other. I don't care if the resolution is better on the bigger one. Like, that's fine. That's no big deal. But I mean, just have one phone, but in bigger size, one BXL, That's just my opinion, because I like the Pixel 2. I think I was reviewing that. You reviewed the Pixel 2 XL, and I like the Pixel 2. It's good, but it's just hard to look at with these massive bezels and these front speakers. It's got a chin. It's got a forehead. It's kind of ridiculous. So that's my wish for 2018, is that we've got one phone. One's just bigger than the other.
Yeah, one design, just one bigger.
I don't care who makes it.
Bertzer in the chat mentions, don't forget Foxconn builds iPhones with other companies' screens. They do. And HTC, they're not using like they've put AMOLED phones in the last couple of Pixel phones they've made. They're obviously getting those AMOLEDs from somewhere. So they are doing that. But this year in particular felt like LG was said, if you want this POLED display, we're building the phone for you. It's kind of what it felt like, because we know that Google supposedly made this big investment in POLED production. And if they did that, you would think like they could have just said like, well, we're just going to buy these and HTC's making the phone. But it doesn't feel like that happened. It feels like LG said, look, we're making the damn phone for you if you want these POLED. So that's why I'm wondering how that'll play out next year. Like, will it just be like, as part of the reason HTC or Google acquire all this talent is so that it's not technically a part of HTC, so that when they go to build their next phone, it's like, and they want to bring in LG displays, they're like, well, no, it's just our guys. Like HTC is not using your displays. I don't know. I don't know how that whole interaction goes, but it certainly felt this year like LG was like, if you want our stuff, we're building your phone. So
I'm not a big fan of that.
No, and like the design overall is like, it's nice, right? They did a really good job. It's just, we got two different designs because two different companies made it.
Yeah. If there was a Penguin Pixel 2, then we'd be talking. We'd be
with that all display front on a smaller phone would have been awesome.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome.
It would have been
probably the phone I'd be using, because sometimes I feel like the 2XL is too big.
A little big, yeah.
All right. Another story I wanted to kind of talk about was the return of the Galaxy Note 8. It was funny last year with the Note 7, there was the recall or multiple recalls, right? I think we had like 2 or 3 or something like that. They even brought the phone back as a refurbished phone at some point, which seemed just so stupid and not worth it, but Samsung did. But the Note 8 returned, and after months and months of people saying they should kill the Note line, it's damaged forever, and airlines tried to run the whole phone line into the ground and its reputation, we sort of said from day one, like, don't be stupid, people. Like, they'll be fine. We'll be fine. And what happened? The Note 8 sold in record amounts. And you can see from our readers, like a whole bunch of people bought it. Like the Note crowd is a dedicated crowd. Like they come back no matter what. So even as the Note 7 like exploded or whatever it did, like people were just waiting for the Note 8 and they bought the Note 8. And apparently a lot of people bought the Note 8.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So it was just one of those storylines that like over the year, right? Because like Samsung had to hold like a press conference to talk about like their findings over why this happened and all the steps they were going to take to be safe. And then at the Galaxy S8 launch, they talked about it again. And I think they did it at the Note 8 launch. They talked about it again. I mean, it was just like 4 times they were like, this is what we're doing for safety. And I get it. It's probably good that they did. And maybe it eased everyone's mind and that's what helped. But that got a little tiresome, but in the end, people bought the Note 8. People love Note phones. And everyone else tries to make big phones. People buy Samsung's giant phones.
That's true. People love the Note. I used to love the Note. I used to be one of those people. Note 2 was my favorite phone for a long time. I thought it was the best thing ever. Or was it the Note 3? I don't know. They all kind of blend together. Yeah. Note 4 was when I started hating it.
I feel like they've had it's like every other year. Like when they did that phone that had the faux stitching plastic on the back, like that was a bad year. And then I think the next year was like the embedded battery where people kind of freaked, but it was their first metal phone and it was hot.
It was sick.
Yeah. And then I think the Note 5 was first glass back. And then the 7 was awesome. And it just had some issues, a couple of issues.
Just a couple.
But the Note 8, I wasn't personally a fan of the Note 8. I don't know what it was. I think I talked a lot about the ergonomics of it. It just felt too tall and it just wasn't as comfortable as like the S8 Plus. While I did start using the S Pen and had some fun with that, there's something about the phone. And obviously the design, like the ugly camera setup, the fingerprint reader in a terrible spot. There was like all these little things about the Note 8 I just couldn't do. Yeah, I know a lot of people love it. It just wasn't the phone for me.
Yeah, I think the fingerprint reader really threw me off. I love using a fingerprint reader. And on the Note 8, even the S8 Plus at some times, the fingerprint reader just becomes unusable where it's placed. So, I mean, that's like my biggest hope and dream for 2018 is that the S9 and the Note 9 have the fingerprint readers in a much better position.
Yeah. And so far we've seen some renders and stuff that show the fingerprint reader lined up in the middle underneath camera and flash, which would be great. That's all they needed to do last year. I still do not know who signed off on the decision to put the fingerprint reader off to the right side. Whoever that person was, I hope they no longer work at Samsung. And I know that sounds really, really like extreme and terrible, but come on, you can't make that kind of terrible design decision. You can't approve that. I mean, we saw that before the phone was even announced, and you wrote like an entire opinion piece on like, this is terrible, because it was.
And they still did it even after I wrote that.
Even after you wrote that, yeah. And then they did it again with the Note 8, which made it even worse because it was like a double camera, and then it was a bigger phone. Like, just insane that somebody actually signed off on that.
What are they doing?
I have no idea.
Some designer who gets paid way more than us gets to make these decisions.
I mean, it's in a box right here. I was gonna pull it out and show everyone just how ugly. I actually am. No, we're gonna look at this right now.
All right.
This is just insane.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about the Bixby button too.
Yeah, the Bixby button's another thing. But like, what is that? Look at that. What is that? That is such bad design.
That's bad design. I dig the look, like, of the sort of kind of, shiny metal that it has kind of wrapping around and all that. Like, it looks good. It's just the fingerprint reader and it isn't a terrible position.
This whole section up here.
Yeah.
This is just bad. Like this big square double thing. That
we thought LG and like their rear facing O face was bad, but nah, I mean that pretty much takes the cake.
Yeah, it does. Which is too bad because the rest of it, like you said, is actually designed really well.
It's great.
Like when you turn
really nice hardware
on, the screen's on, it looks hot.
It does. Yeah, and the Infinity and all this. Oh man, that's sick.
It actually ran really well. It was one of the first Samsung phones I can recall having great performance.
Yeah.
That back thing. Yeah, the Bixby button, like, we can complain about that. They've given us a way to turn it off now, so I'm kind of done complaining about the Bixby button.
They didn't think ahead and be like, people may want to turn this off, but then you've just got a button there that has no use whatsoever.
But you can ignore it. I mean, like, you turn it off and just ignore it. It'd be nice if you could remap it to whatever. I get it.
Google Assistant, which is
I'm just saying, like, bad camera design and fingerprint design, there's no fix for that. It's just there forever being terrible.
Well, I just didn't use it. I would just use face unlock or pattern unlock, and I just said, screw it.
That's what you had to do. Yeah. You had to just go, no, I'm not going to use any of that. Using smart unlock. I'll put this stupid face thing on. I will do anything except hit that fingerprint.
Yeah. Like, why am I going to frustrate myself to unlock my phone every time? Something we do like 400 times a day. I refuse.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Samsung seems to be, doing just fine, even though,
I think they're doing all right.
The S8 and S8 Plus seem to do quite well as well. I don't know that any of these phones sold in records, did they? But they sold a lot.
Note 8, pretty sure, sold in records.
I think it did over the Note 70. I'm just saying that the S8 and S8 Plus, I don't know, like off the top of my head, I don't think they like blew out the S7. I think the S7 might still be king. I don't know. All I know is they still kind of sell more phones than just about everyone.
Yeah.
Possibly more than everyone.
Well, I think every year, they say we've got more pre-orders or orders within the first 36 hours than any other phone ever, like something like that.
The nice thing is they ran tons of great deals. We've highlighted them a bunch, like the trade-in deals, the instant trade-in discounts and stuff. Like you could get, even though the Note 8 was like $1,000, you could get it sometimes for like $500, which was kind of crazy. But
that's another thing to talk about. I mean, a lot of the new phones we saw pop up, a lot of these companies were giving some sweet trade-in deals, and like
even Google for a little bit.
Even Google. I mean, Google was giving $400 for an old Pixel XL.
Yeah.
If you bought a new Pixel 2 or 2 XL. I mean, that's like that brings down the price of a Pixel 2 to like 200 some odd bucks. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, think about that.
If you
had a Pixel, if you owned a Pixel or a Pixel XL, you had no excuse not to just upgrade. I mean, unless you just don't have $200 laying around or whatever. $400 for a Pixel XL. That's crazy. And I think it was like $300 for like the regular Pixel. It was something stupid. Like no one was getting.
No one's paying that money. Yeah, you can't go on Swappa and expect those types of prices. No, that was some loyalty coupon right there.
It definitely was.
Google lost money on that. That's fine though. Whatever.
And they screwed up and like told people they sent in the wrong phone and it wasn't factory reset and all this. There was some drama there too. Google had some issues this year, that's for sure.
That's all right.
All right, I want to talk about HTC for a second because HTC. Well, so early in the year, did they give us the U Ultra to start the year? They did, right?
Yes.
Okay, so HTC comes out in January, out of nowhere, and announces this phone called the U Ultra at like a weird press event. Like I think it was in Taiwan. They've actually, when they've held press events this year, they've all been in Taiwan. They're not doing them in the US anymore. So they announced this phone, the U Ultra. And it's this huge like monstrosity that just has like a dual screen. And we're kind of going, wait, what? And then they go, well, here it is. And it's coming out in March or something like that, right? And we're like, wait a minute, why did you just announce a phone that's not going to be here for like 2 months? And sure enough, like February hits, MWC, right? G6 comes out. And I think the U Ultra finally came out at some point after that. Like we picked one up and reviewed it, and like no one cared for a second about the phone because it was really expensive. It was like $750, I think. So anyway, they did that. No one cared. It was a pretty bad phone. And then the U11 comes out, and the U11 doesn't follow the new upcoming trend of all display fronts, right? Still got like the front fingerprint button, the stupid capacitive buttons that HTC keeps doing. But it has this cool design on the back, right? That liquid metal thing they're going with. Like I reviewed it and performance was good. I think the battery life was pretty solid. I think my only issue was I just hoped they had a slightly bigger battery because it would have been like a battery life king. And then the camera was surprisingly one of the best I used all year in that phone. The problem was like the design. Like everyone else was coming out with these all display fronts, and HTC's like, well, here's our old boring design and only unlocked, no carriers. I think it was like $700. Like it wasn't that cheap. A couple of the colors that we liked didn't even come to the US, I don't think. They're a no headphone jack guy, you know, so it was like kind of cool. Anyways, we move on from there, and then we start hearing these rumors of this U11 Plus, and we see pictures of it and renders, and it's an all display front, fingerprint reader moved to the back. There's a see-through version of the phone. He looks so hot. And then we get, well, HTC briefed us on it, like we knew or early, right?
Yeah,
it's not coming to the US. And you know, we asked them, and they just said basically like, well, we don't want to piss off the U11 people that bought this phone earlier in the year in the US, right? Because the U11 excuse me, the U11 like went everywhere else, and then they sell this U11 Plus everywhere else except the US. And they were like, no, we in the past, like, you know, we've pissed people off, we didn't want to do that. And we just went, what? This could be the best phone you've ever made, ever. And you're not even going to sell it in the US. Like it was probably my biggest disappointment of the year would be that right there. Because this phone, like when you and I first saw like the first renders of it before HTC told us it wasn't coming here, we were like, oh my God, this thing looks amazing. And then we found out the bad news, and I shared it with you, and we just went, and then we had to talk about it for like a couple of weeks and act like we didn't know it wasn't coming.
Yeah, and act all hype, like, oh yeah, this is so exciting. HTC's making an awesome phone.
Oh man,
just really so lame. Yeah, especially. I mean, sorry, just the design itself. It was really something that, like, finally some HTC hardware I was super excited about, and with that kind of semi-transparent backside, you can see some of the circuitry going on. I was like, dude, this is so hot. But yeah, it's like you said, biggest disappointment of 2017, no doubt.
For sure. And, you know, it's the end of the year, and they haven't even flipped. Like there was like this slight chance we were hoping they would go, okay, you guys wanted it, we'll sell it like for Christmas or something. It's apparently just never coming here. I'd imagine they're still working on a U12 or something like that, and hopefully it's similar. But now you're kind of like, well, you just released the U11 Plus like at the end of the year. You're really going to drop a U12? And is that just going to only go to the US because you don't want to piss off everyone else around the globe who just bought the U11 Plus? Like it just was such a weird excuse. Instead, they gave us the U11 Life, which is like a $200 cheapy phone that they sold through T-Mobile. It has fingerprint reader and water resistance and all this stuff. Like it has some decent specs. It was just a really low end phone.
Yeah, if memory serves me right, didn't I mean, I feel like it was some backroom deal between HTC and Google, because the HTC U11 Plus is so much like the Pixel 2 XL, where Google's like, I mean, we don't want you to take away our business, and since you're making the smaller guy, just keep that one out of the US. And then we learned that the U11 Plus was supposed to be which one, Walleye or was it supposed to be which one? I
I think
forget.
it's walleye.
Yeah, there was a lot of reports going around, but I'm sure I just assume it was a backdoor deal. Sundar told the folks at HTC like, "Yo, you can make the small guy, but we're not gonna let you get the big guy."
Here's a couple of $1 billion for some employees. Please don't sell that in the US kind of thing.
Yeah, because we need to sell the Pixel 2 XL. We need to push it hard. And if people find out or people know that there's maybe a cheaper alternative at HTC, then that's not going to be good for our bottom line.
Yeah,
Can't be having that.
It does feel weird. It feels kind of like, yeah, they talked to Google and Google's like, it'd probably be better for this this deal we got going down if you guys didn't try to swoop in here and stomp on our Pixel 2 XL.
They're very similar phones, which is why I think that idea gets kind of thrown around.
Yeah, because it's, got dual speakers and the all display front, and it easily could have been Pixel 2 XL, which was canceled. Like the HTC version of the 2 XL was canceled in favor of this LG one. So, yeah, very interesting. Just disappointing. The phone looks awesome. Like it's one of those phones I still would love to get my hands on and play with for a while. It's just like zero benefit to you and I doing that because our readership is like 80% in the US. And so, it's not like 20% of those guys are going to import the thing from wherever. I mean, I'm not even going to do that. And I used to import phones all the time because I just wanted to play with stuff. Now it just seems like a waste of money. It's just sad.
To anyone in the chat or who's listening who says, hey, why don't they talk about Sony phones and Xperia phones? Well, believe it or not, we used to talk about Xperia phones all the time because Kellen wouldn't shut up about them. He used to love Xperia phones. I love
that. I think I did that partly because they were doing something different, and I was hoping deep down inside that they were going to make a big US push, and then they didn't do that. So rest in peace, Sony coverage on Droid Life.
Sorry, Xperia lovers.
Sorry, Bertzer.
Once we get a phone that doesn't look like last 10 years of Xperia phones,
this maybe I'll be interested. I think I saw some renders of some Sony phones that are going to go all display, and then things might change. They might have to import a little Sony because it's not like they're ever going to sell them here. Or if they do, they're always late and they're really expensive, and there's no reason to buy them because their cameras are always garbage, even though they say they're awesome. Yeah.
If they do like an all display front, 4K, tri-luminous, with some awesome new IMX sensor or whatever for the back, like I'd be interested. I mean, that's the problem though. Like Sony is making the cameras for all these awesome phones, but then the cameras are never really like stand out all too well against like some
of their own phones, right?
I know it just doesn't make sense to me. And of course, we know that they can make good display panels, yet their tri-luminous tech just doesn't even seem all that great. No. So, but it's 4K.
It's been a while since I've used one, but the ones I did use, I think it was up through like the Z5. I just remember it was always like tri-luminous new display is going to be the best ever. And then like the brightness on it was garbage or something. Yeah. And then they were like, well, here's this brand new camera that does all the slow-mo and does all this cool stuff. And then it was like the slowest camera. I guess that's what they meant in slow-mo. It just like, they just weren't like, the experience wasn't what it should have been. Like you said, they make the damn camera sensor. I know that's like a different division. They're probably separate, but Jesus, you can't tune your own camera. So
I also have a beef with just the fact that they called their display stuff tri-luminous. I know you guys aren't all Android bloggers, but try writing tri-luminous like 5 times in the post and not screwing up at least 2 of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I don't think it's phonetical.
Bertzer and Wade County say the Sony XZ1s actually take good pictures now. I hope they do. Are they fast though? Like, are they fast enough? That's all I want to know. Because that was also one of my problems. Their cameras used to be really slow. But look, if they're good now, that's awesome. That's just another thing to look forward to when they actually change the design.
Yeah.
Tri-luminous.
Tri-luminous. That's a sexy word, I'll admit. It's just a pain to type out.
Just really tough to type, yeah. All right, let's talk about Essential. I brought them up a little bit earlier. So one of the biggest stories of the year was Essential. Andy Rubin, godfather of Android, or whatever we like to call him. He starts a company called Essential.
Yeah.
Kind of popped up out of nowhere, actually, right? Well, I think there have been like a couple of rumors maybe the previous year about, I think the Information maybe had that first story. I can't remember. Apologies if I got that wrong. That he was working on a company and he had hired a bunch of people from in the industry and they were going to make this phone. And then all of a sudden, like, what was it, like May? I think
it was.
It was around whenever one of Recode's conferences, I think their Code conference, all of a sudden, like, Essential goes, look, we're real. And we made this phone, and we're making a smart home thing, and we're making a 360 camera, and we're making something else. And then Andy Rubin, of course, is scheduled to appear at this conference. So the timing all was coordinated, right? Shows it off. Looks great. All display front, talking titanium, all this stuff, mods, attachments you could put on the thing without the bad design of the Moto Z phones. He shows it off and goes, yeah, we're going to sell this thing right now. Or we're going to open up reservations. And I wouldn't do that if I wasn't going to sell in a month. And then what happened? Like 3 months went by, couldn't buy the damn thing. Then they finally did basically OnePlus's sales tactic, which was like whoever signed up first was like in this reservation line. Like they didn't open up actual orders for, I don't think, like another month, but they did let early reservations order only the black, not the white, not the ugly green color, not the gray color, like only black. So then that happened. Then they partnered with Sprint. I forgot that happened actually in there somewhere. Sprint of all places, even though the phone works on all carriers. Best Buy starts selling whatever. It's a $700 phone, and they want it to be a status symbol, right? That's kind of what they said. They're like, we don't necessarily need to sell like 10 million. We just want it to be like a status thing. And so we're like, cool. So we finally get a hold of one. And early reviews drop, and almost everyone kind of says like, this phone is not good. The camera is terrible. And then we got a hold of one as that was happening. And it was like apparent right away. Like the camera app, you'd open it. In my review, the camera app was still bad. And we got the phone later than some other reviewers. Like you can see it in my video, like I'm tapping on the shutter button and it's just frozen. And that was like a first take. I was like, all right, I'm going to film the camera. I fire it up, freezes. I'm like, okay, well, that's going in the review because people need to know this. So people start sideloading Google's camera and it takes better pictures. And we're talking stock, bare bones Android. The performance is garbage. The touch latency is garbage. And I can't put the thing down because the hardware is so good. And the design, it looks great. It feels great. Battery life solid. It just wasn't good.
You just really like that status symbol appeal to it, I think. Like, even though, well, what's nice about the Essentials, yeah, it's kind of a really bad experience, but if you set that thing on a table, no one cares. They're just going to look at it and be like, holy crap, that was like the nicest looking, coolest looking phone I've seen in a long time. And that's the way I felt about it too. You got that white one later on down the road just because you couldn't get enough Essential in your life. And, I was like, dang, that thing is, well, of course.
And because they dropped the price to $500, and because I had previously bought one, they gave me another $200 off. So yeah, I got that white one for like 300 bones,
which ain't bad. And it's, I would say it's the best looking device of the year.
Yeah,
but that's as far as it goes.
And best feeling in hand, best looking. Like it has this crazy weight to it, like
ceramic.
It is remarkable to hold, like that phone in hand with the display turned on. It's amazing. But that's like pretty much where the good stuff ends.
How do you screw up stock Android?
I don't know. I mean,
who was testing that?
I have no idea. Like they said, Andy Rubin said like, yeah, we're going to sell this thing like right away. And then they didn't. And we assumed, like it was maybe the camera, maybe some software stuff. Something was going on, right? And sure enough, like 3 months later, when it finally does go on sale, the camera's still trash. The software is still bad. The performance is still bad. And since then, it's been like update after update. We're in like second Oreo beta already for it. They're issuing monthly security patches, sometimes the same day that Google announces them before the Pixel phones even have them. Like they're actually doing good on that stuff. They're hosting Reddit AMAs to talk about stuff with the community. They dropped the price $200, as we mentioned. For Black Friday, they sold the thing on Amazon for $400. And I think it came with the 360 camera. I mean, we're talking like deals you can't really turn down.
Well, you can.
Well, yeah. In the end, like maybe we all should have just turned it down because it's now, well, we're going to the new year and the phone, like I said, is in Oreo beta 2. It's got December security patch. And every AMA that I read now, because they're doing them bi-weekly, right? And we kind of report back on them. It's the same complaints. People are like, well, the connection, network connection sucks. The touch latency is awful. There's a couple other bugs that people always point out. And the last time, like people brought up the touch latency in the display, like they were like, yeah, we're actually reaching out to our partners now to try to find a solution. Because basically it was like Essential admitting that they have no idea how to fix the poor touch latency. And I mentioned in my review that like you would tap on the screen and just wouldn't even recognize you were touching it like all the time. And they seem to improve that, but it's like they figured out a way with their implementation to improve it only so far, and that's like as far as they could go. And so they were going to go back and try to fix, and it's still not fixed. I mean, like it still has all the same problems it had. They're just less severe, which is not acceptable for a phone that was $700. Yeah, that runs stock Android, like you said. How do you screw up stock Android?
As Peter Ford in the chat says, so it's the software that was the issue? All that can be fixed, right? Well, as we found, as Kellen just mentioned, no, apparently not. I remember when they first dropped the first beta build for Oreo, I flashed it via ADB because I'm Hacker Elite, and the phone still wasn't it. Of course, it didn't fix the camera or anything, but I mean, the experience just really wasn't elevated all too much, even with picture-in-picture, even though that wasn't enabled in the first beta build. But autofill and all that, I mean, a lot of that stuff adding new features does not fix what was already broken, apparently. So it just adds more things that can break.
I think it had so many major flaws out of the gate that when they fixed a whole bunch of those and dropped the price, it was really easy to say, well, this is actually pretty decent now. Great price, this hardware, it's gotten a lot better. And it just hasn't gotten any better since then. Like I think it was like, well, all right, they've shown they can improve. So this thing's only going to get better and better and better. And now we're like a couple of months since that happened. And I just don't know that we've gotten that much better. And like I'm saying, the last AMA we saw, it sounds like they're still kind of were like, we know these are problems. We're just not really sure how to fix them. And that's kind of scary. Like, you know, even if you pay like $500 is still $500. If you spend $500 on that thing and the company's telling you like, we don't know if we can fix like the problems here, like that's not good.
I really hope this isn't like a major turnoff for them to make a follow-up, you know, like an Essential Phone 2. Probably not next year, right? Because I mean, this is such like kind of like a boutique item where and they probably put so much damn effort into it. You just don't want to back it up, you know, after 1 year. So maybe 2019 or something, we could get an Essential Phone 2, but they take all this time to really emphasize having a camera with some type of stabilization, whether it be like digital or analog or whatever. I mean, there's just so many improvements need to be made, and don't screw up stock Android. But I want there to be another one because I love the hardware so much. Like I want an Essential Phone that is good, like, and I would pay any price for it.
I think the Essential Phone 2 will be one of the most anticipated phones of the year for us because there was some stuff with the first one that made it really, really appealing. And the problem is they haven't shown that they know how to do software at all yet. If they can figure that out, hire some better software engineers. I don't know what they need to do, right? I'm not an engineer. I don't know how they can fix all these problems. I just assume that Andy Rubin running a company that everyone seems to want to invest in, they can hire some really, really good talent. And so far, we haven't really seen that they're able to improve this stuff. Still, the first product they made, design-wise, was incredible. The problems they had are software related. So
fire your software team.
Well, so yeah, seriously, bring on a new software team. So I'm really looking forward to the next phone because if the software was good on the Essential Phone, it might be the phone I'm using right now because like it really does feel that much better in hand than almost any other phone. But yeah, I mean, they have a lot to prove still. So, you know, Andy Rubin went on a personal leave for a while. He is back now. I mean, it's definitely been a rocky start for Essential. So
yeah, it's been a crap show over there.
Yeah, it kind of has been. Yeah. I don't know. Leslie in the chat really doesn't like any new phone company. It doesn't seem like Leslie doesn't like Razer, doesn't like Essential. Leslie, you got to explain though why you don't like Choice, because I love Choice. Like I love the fact that Essential and Razer are making phones, because I don't like talking about the same Samsung, the same Google, the same HTC, the same Moto and LG all the time. Like I want Sony to come back here so we can talk about Sony. in a real way. Like that's what makes Android fun. So I'm not sure why we want Essential and Razer to die. I'd rather they make cool products that compete with everybody. Just saying, like, this is weird.
OnePlus is good, according to Leslie.
So Leslie owns a OnePlus 3. Okay.
OnePlus 3T.
Okay, maybe the 3. Well, good choice. We called that the phone of the year a year ago.
That's true.
Anyways, so Essential, it's a huge topic because of the name at the top of the organization, right? But they failed pretty miserably this year. And we really tried to like it because that hardware was so great, but it improved a lot. And then it's kind of been stuck. Like I've tried to use it between the OnePlus 5T, 2XL, and just the Essential phone, like try to kind of have them all sitting on my desk charged at all times because I want to use one. And like the other day, like Pixel 2XL was about dead, and I grabbed the Essential phone and kind of used it, and it's like you can instantly tell the touch latency is garbage still. Like if it's your only phone, it's not the worst thing, but like going from, because the 2XL is like dialed in, right? You switch the Essential, it just feels like you're using a really low end, poorly made phone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is too bad. All right. Well, we got to talk about Apple just for a second because we haven't talked about throttling yet. So last week or the week before, anyway, Apple basically got caught throttling old Android or old iPhones, iPhone 6, 6S, and now the 7. And when I say throttling, I'm talking performance. So what Apple was doing is through a couple of software updates, they dropped CPU performance down. And they did so because the batteries in those phones were getting old and crappy and not stable anymore. And phones were rebooting and they wanted to fix that, which is fine. The problem was they didn't tell anyone they were doing that. They told like no one they were doing that. And a lot of people were going, well, my phone's now slow. And some guy on Reddit like a week or so ago, which kind of got this all fired up, goes, look, my phone was really crappy and slow, so I swapped the battery out, and now it's like super fast again. I got a new battery. Now it's like the fastest phone ever again. It was like a 6S, I think. And so an engineer or developer at Geekbench started looking at results for these phones and noticed right away, like when CPU performance was spiking, like all of a sudden it was just drop. It was like Apple was clearly at a certain performance dropping these phones down. And so then Apple actually admitted to it, said, yeah, we are lowering performance basically to preserve batteries and extend the life of phones and all of that. And that's fine. The problem, again, is they didn't tell anyone. And when you're doing that to 2-year-old phones, it certainly looks like you're slowing phones down to hopefully get people to upgrade their phones, which is probably what a lot of people did. They were selling battery replacements for $79, which is a lot cheaper than getting a whole new phone. And all they had to do was tell you. So anyways, it's a lot of drama that we've had fun, like giving them hell over. Last night, they announced that they are dropping battery replacement prices down to $29. So from $79 to $20. So that's nice. And then they're also going to add a software feature that shows you more if your battery's going bad and all of that stuff, so that you can decide if you want a new phone or if you need a new battery. Anyways, that's the story. And I think they deserve all of the shit they've taken for it, because all they had to do was just be upfront with people. Like, look, batteries are degrading, and they called it a feature and all this stuff. Anyway, so we've been wondering, like, are any Android manufacturers doing this, right? Because it would be kind of not funny, but it would be it would certainly make the story more interesting if it wasn't just Apple. If like Samsung's been doing this and Motorola. So far, Motorola, HTC, Samsung, and LG have all responded back to requests for comment and have all said, like, no, we don't do that. The only one that said they do anything at all was Samsung, I believe. And they said through software, they tweak the way a battery charges. Like, that's all. They don't mess with CPU performance. They just do charging tweaks to try to preserve the life. So anyways, it's been a thing. Google hasn't said anything, so we don't know what Google's doing. Since it's all pretty much open source, I would think like people would have found like some weird CPU throttling line of code somewhere. I'm not really sure, but my guess is that Google's not doing it either.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that I like what Apple's doing. As an investor, I think anything Tim Cook does is pretty awesome. No, of course, like you said, it's not good. It's not a feature, but like, I understand where they're coming from. It actually makes a lot of sense. You know, they want people's phones to remain safe essentially and at least perform somewhat good, even though their batteries are getting old and crap. But just be upfront about it. Just be transparent. If they would have just said, hey, here's what we do with older phones, you can expect this to happen after a year or two after you've had your phone. That's all they had to do. It would have been totally fine. People can live with it, deal with it, pay the dollars for the battery replacement and all that stuff. Not a fan. It's a mess. It's sad. I'm glad a lot of people are reporting on this. You have to light the fire under these companies' butts if you want anything to get done. And but I do actually appreciate the idea, like whoever's brainchild this was, like, hey, let's underclock the CPUs so we aren't putting a strain on the batteries and people won't have these random reboots and all that stuff. Like what happens when the phone is trying to preserve itself? Makes sense. If they would have just been transparent, it would have been cool. It would have been fine.
That's like the entire story right there. Like what they're doing makes sense. It makes sense, right? Yeah. Makes sense. Your battery starts getting terrible and dying and old and crusty. We reduce some things, do some little software stuff, slow down performance during peak usage and all this, and prevent reboots and stabilize the whole phone. It makes total sense. The problem is they're doing it to 2-year-old phones when people are about time for an upgrade. And of course, they've said multiple times now, we would never do this to get people to upgrade. And it's like, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And like, if you can all of a sudden come up with this like software thing that tells you what your battery life is like and how your battery is aging, and now you're going to drop battery replacements down, like all that, like you could have done this proactively. And Apple, who cares so much about every little aspect of their image, like this is a pretty big screw up. And so look, Apple's they certainly act like they are the kings of all. And so when they get brought down a little bit, I'm sorry.
What annoys me is one person in particular. I won't mention his name, but he sent out a tweet recently at 12:12 p.m. Pacific time, December 29th, 2017. He says, my favorite part about this whole slowing down phones thing and people saying my Android doesn't slow down is that Apple's throttled CPUs are almost certainly still miles ahead of Qualcomm's and Samsung, or at Samsung explosion-inducing power levels. Nice. So he's saying that even though Apple is throttling their CPUs, they're still getting better performance than any Android device with a high-end Qualcomm chip. It's just a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, watching the people defend Apple, because there's obviously Apple pundits that are running around going, it's fine, they're doing the right thing, guys. They just needed to be transparent. No, actually, that like the whole point of us making a stink is that they weren't. And they've been hiding this for how long now and just doing it without telling anyone? Like how many people, the people have filed class action lawsuits at this point, but like how many people did actually go, well, my phone kind of running slow and it's about 2 years old. Maybe I should just upgrade when they didn't need to. Like that's a big deal. And if you're defending Apple going, no, it was the right thing. I don't really give a shit if it was the right. They did it the wrong way. Stop defending Apple at every single turn.
Yeah, they're not paying you to defend them. Not only that, Apple is one company that hardly talks about the CPUs, their processors, clock speeds, anything like that. Where on Android, we're always talking about, like, what's the CPU clocked at, RAM, et cetera, et cetera. You've always got to pry teeth or pull teeth at Apple when you're trying to get that information during a press event or anything like that. Yeah. So the fact, that everything they do with the performance and CPUs and RAM is so damn sneaky that it's not consumer friendly. And I think, and that's just like my beef with it. I don't care if their CPUs are better than Qualcomm's or Exynos or whatever processors are out there, MediaTek's, Huawei's, don't care. I just want Apple to be forthcoming with the information that's important to consumers, especially when they're spending hundreds of dollars on their phones. Yeah. So you got to be cool to your customers. But they're not cool to their customers and they still have their customers defending them at every turn. How do I get people like that on my team?
That's
where I continue to abuse them and they keep coming back for more. It's like gaslighting.
It's that cult.
Yeah.
It is. Look, if Google comes out and says like, yeah, we've been doing the same thing, we're going to give Google a whole lot of crap for it too. Although I don't even know if Google has a way to replace their batteries. I mean, I'm sure you can. That's not an excuse for them just saying like, at least Apple has like had the opportunity to take it into a store and get a battery replacement. I don't know what you would do if like your Pixel 1 like started dying and you needed a new battery, and because Google's been throttling, I don't even know what you would do.
You'd be doomed.
Yeah, you would.
Related news, iFixit. If you don't want to take your iPhone into an Apple store, because now you seriously don't trust them, iFixit, they sell their own Apple battery replacements, and they dropped their price to $29 to match Apple's apology price. So you can just swap your own battery now.
Just do it yourself.
You don't need a genius to do it for you.
Get that iFixit toolkit and do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Not bad.
All right, so one more story that stuck out this year. We redesigned Droid Life. We have a fresh new Droid Life. I think the redesign has gone well. I know some people were confused by it for a while, but this was like our first major overhaul in a couple of years. I know we still like it. I hope you guys are liking, especially the mobile site. I feel like the mobile site is fast and good and clean, and everything's where it needs to be. I don't really have much else to say about it other than I think it's been good. It's just nice to have like official branding and everything. Like we're like real or something.
I still like our logo. If you catch us at CES, hit us up. We'll hand you one of our new business cards with our new logo on it. It's gonna be awesome. So I'm digging it. I know some people hate that the comments are hidden automatically, but we do that so performance is always good for you guys. If you're trying to load 100 comments at a time, it can slow things down. So we're trying to speed it up for you, trying to make the performance, the experience better for you. So keep that in mind, please.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, CES is what's next for us. You guys have probably heard about CES a lot. It used to be called the Consumer Electronics Show. They actually just call it CES now, even though I think it still stands for Consumer Electronics Show. They don't call it that.
Don't call it that.
Weird. That kicks off a week from, it's a week from this coming Tuesday, I believe, but we get there a week from Sunday because we do press stuff a couple days beforehand. Anyway, CES is a big electronic show where it used to be really fun for mobile stuff. Now it's not so much fun. Like there's other mobile conferences that do mobile stuff, and a lot of people skip this. But what we do now is we've always gotten TVs and appliances and stuff at CES. We're starting to see like more smart home tech. So there is still some stuff to cover. Either way, it's just Tim and I hanging out in Vegas for like a week, eating food and probably drinking too much and having fun. It's a good time for us, even though there isn't that much news that ever comes out of it at this point. And we think this year is going to be much of the same, where it's like Google Assistant and Alexa in everything. So you'll probably have lots of options to buy speakers and things like that have Assistant in them, which is cool. So like that'll happen. I don't know that we'll see any new phones worth talking about at all. Maybe a tablet if people care about tablets. We'll probably see some new Chromebooks, which could be cool. Like Chromebooks are getting better and better. So maybe we'll see some new Chromebooks. But again, if you think you're going to see a big phone release or announcement at CES, it's probably not going to happen. There's like one rumor that Samsung could tease the Galaxy S9, but it just still seems way too early.
Yeah. Birds are in the chat asking if we can do MWC this year. It's always been on our list, but I mean, we can do MWC from home. However, little birdie told me that Kellen may possibly be interested in attending MWC this year. We'll see, no promises, but it'd be cool if one of us just got out there and chilled in Spain for a little bit. You guys don't understand how much of a pain it is to go from Portland, Oregon to Barcelona, Spain. Yeah. Like the traveling is just ridiculous. I mean, there's of course no nonstop, but layovers are hours and hours long in podunk towns nowhere. It's ridiculous. It's too much. It's like 2 days of traveling for a couple of days of coverage. We can just do it all from home at like 4 a.m. or whatever we do.
Yeah, we've been fortunate over the years to get some briefings and stuff like that from a lot of the products that are shown off. So we haven't necessarily needed to go. One of these years, probably this year, will probably bite us in the rear on that. But it's tough for us. We're a two-man team. That means either we're both or one of us is flying halfway across the damn globe to to cover this stuff, which means it's impossible to work. Like, because we're not on the East Coast, we don't just get a hop right on over to Spain. We got to fly across the damn US. It's like a logistical kind of nightmare for a small 2-man operation to do. All for, we don't even know if it is worth it. Like, even financially, like, yeah, we can cover this stuff, but half the phones like are Europe only or not even coming to the US. Like, like Huawei hosts a big thing, but none of their stuff hardly ever comes here. I know Samsung has skipped it the last couple of years. There's a rumor they're coming back to it this year. LG always does stuff, but LG's worked with us in the past to make sure we have coverage ready. So it hasn't made that much sense for us to go. Because again, we're kind of US focused, but one of these years we might just say screw it and go. I have no idea.
As Leslie in the chat. So she said, or they said, not practical. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes it's just not practical. But
yeah,
I'm sure Barcelona's awesome.
It's probably a great time.
Yeah, it's gorgeous over there. I've seen photos.
So, yeah. So anyway, CES is first, though. So there'll be some news. Maybe T-Mobile will announce something. Maybe Xiaomi will announce like a new Android TV box. I have no idea. So far, it's looking like we're not going to see much at CES, but we'll be there to find out. I actually saw today that like Essential will be at one of the press events we're going to, showing off the Essential phone. Good for them.
Mother of God.
For them. All right. So quickly to wrap up, just thought we toss out any predictions about anything. Did you have any big predictions for like S9, LG's G7, next HTC? Anything in particular that's standing out that you want to talk about with any of that stuff? New phones?
So Galaxy S9, prediction is that it's going to be a lot like the Galaxy S8, except with a fingerprint reader in a good spot. That's the prediction. It's not too bold, considering we've seen a few renders, like CAD renders, that the case makers get, and then they 3D design it off of those schematics. So not too bold, but still very exciting. LG G7, probably a lot like the G6. Metal, industrial. It's going to be nice, I bet. Good camera, of course. Software, probably going to be pretty bad. Sorry, LG. Until they fix it completely, I'll just keep knocking them
until they just start over.
Yeah. HTC U12. Interesting idea. Don't know. I mean, if it's like the U11 Plus, but smaller, I guess, kind of like what the S8 is to the Note 8 or something, more kind of flagshipy. That would be sweet. Although it's HTC, I guess I'm just not all that excited. They hurt me this year, and so I'm kind of turned off from HTC.
Yeah, kind of mad at you, HTC. Kind of mad at you.
Yeah.
It's just, in terms of phones for next year, I don't want to say like I'm not looking forward to next year, because a new wave of phones is always fun.
That's great.
But I remember I think at the end of last year, I wrote a story that said like 2017 is going to be awesome. Like Samsung's getting a refresh. LG's got to try harder. Google's got to do better than that Pixel because they've had a full year. And I think for the most part, that turned out like we got some amazing phones. Like we saw the all display, like, that whole thing happened with almost everyone outside HTC until the end of the year. Like LG delivered some great phones. Pixel 2 XL is awesome. All of Samsung's phones are great. Even OnePlus jumped on the all display chart. Like we saw like a ton of great phones. I think this is one of those years where it's like the down year, where like Samsung just kind of like slightly tweaks for the S9.
Incremental.
Yeah. And so like I think we'll get the same phone, it's just gonna have a different change to the back. Obviously, like better RAM, new processor. They'll maybe bump the storage up and keep the price the same. Like it'll be fine. I don't think it'll be like massively game changing. The software on Samsung phones it's gotten a lot better, but I don't think this is the year we get another refresh of the Samsung experience.
Would it kill these guys to give us like a really hot color, like a Galaxy S9 and like a bright fire red or something? And not
like they always do it like later on and only in select. Yeah.
Like I want a red phone.
Like ditch the black and the ugly blue. Like just do something cool. Just go like awesome. We're giving you purple, red, and white. Like those are your options. Or like a neon green, red, and white. Like that's all you get.
There you go.
Just mix it up. I'm with you. It needs something fresh to happen there. Like everyone's making black phones. Remember there was
Back to
years
black.
ago we were like, I'm sick of black phones, and we wanted was white phones. We're like, at
Mhm.
least it's not another black phone. Now we're back to everyone's like, oh, it's the blackest black phone ever, and this one's matte, and this one's not matte, and this one's pitch black, and this one's deep black, and just black. And it's like, holy
So
can we get
boring.
something else? Yeah, I'm so over black phones.
Yeah.
But yeah, the S9 so far, I'm just not that excited about it. G7, I just don't know what LG can do. Like the G6 was good; it was an quite a big improvement. The V30 was really good. No one bought it. So what happens with the G7? Like, what do they? Is it time for LG to scrap the G line and just change it all up? Like, what does LG do at this point? They can't seem to move the needle. They can't seem to get people excited. Um, I don't know what they do. Like, so the G7, it's hard for me to go like, I'm really looking forward to the G7 because no one cared about the G6 or V30, it looks like. So are we going to care about it?
I'm really thinking that their software, they've got to scrap it and maybe just completely offer stock and maybe just a few tweaks like kind of Motorola does or something like Pixel phones do on top of stock Android Essential, but better.
Maybe that is something that like somebody like LG needs to consider, like going to stock Android, like doing what OnePlus does, like just giving a couple of tweaks on top. It probably will cut down their software costs, number one, because they seem to be losing money out of their mobile division. It might cut down some software costs there, but like their skin clearly, it's not attracting. Their software isn't attracting people. I don't know.
Not even close.
And like HTC, like I actually would say that HTC I'm probably more excited about than LG and Samsung right now because of the U11 Plus, because that phone, like I was actually really excited about that. And then there was massive disappointment. But if HTC builds another phone, like let's say it's the U12 and it's like a slightly smaller version of that with all display front, it's got all the specs and all the bells and whistles and it's got their metallic back and all that stuff. Like that'll be pretty cool. I'm just wondering, like, after you deliver the U11 Plus at the end of the year, how different is this U12 going to be? And can you really improve that much over top of that other than just throwing the Snapdragon 845 in there? But I think overall, like HTC, because they finally joined the party, like I'm kind of excited for what they're doing because they do some other good things, right? Like with audio and performance and stuff like that. And then, of course, the end of the year is like another Note, more Pixel phones. I mean, we should probably talk about those when we get halfway through the year or something. But the first half of the year, I'm not that excited.
Well, you better perk up there.
Moto G6, like, is that going to be cool? We're going to get Oreo updates on anything? I think it's going to be a down year. Predicting it now, I think 2018 is going to be kind of a boring year.
Wow. All right. Well, there you go.
I'm just crushing it already.
Call it a day.
Sorry, 2018.
2018 is going to suck.
2017 was just pretty good. 2018, I don't know.
And like I guess it's a funny thing about 2017 in general. Like the only part of this year that was really cool were the phones. Everything else was pretty terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Android P.
That's right, Android P.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a prediction? What do you think P will be?
I was thinking about this. I got the only emails from LinkedIn I get are like when my connections are in the news, and apparently Marquez Brownlee was in the news recently. Like all he did was tweet a picture of like a painted Android mini figurine and said, "Android Peppermint, I'm calling it," and that's news. I don't think it's Peppermint. It's a little too kind of holiday-ish. I just don't think that they really kind of box themselves into just having like their Android thing be about a holiday goodie, a holiday treat. I think there's plenty of other Ps out there.
I think you got to go Pez. Have an Android head that opens up, pushes out little Pezzies.
Android Pez would be sick.
That would be awesome.
But I don't know if it's gonna like.
That would be tough. But come on, like the statue just going. You can hand out little Android Pez guys.
Oh man, Android pudding. Like as Wade County just suggested in the chat, that would be delicious.
Pop rocks. Little Android pop rocks.
Okay, that's really awesome. It's
kind of 2 words, but yeah. I think it should be Pez.
I go straight to parfait. Android parfait.
Bringing that. That's kind of like a throwback / new, right?
Android pumpkin pie. Ooh wee. There's a lot of desserts that start with P.
I just want it to be Pez.
I kind of want it to be Pez too now.
Yeah.
I think Parfait and Pez or
Leading the
pumpkin or
charge.
Android Pop Tarts.
Pop-Tarts,
Pop
that's
Tarts are
true.
also quite good. Peanut butter. That's Android Pepsi. I like that. We could just not do candy anymore. Just
Yeah.
yeah,
Popsicle.
Android Pirelli tires. That's pretty sweet. But yeah, no, Pez. Let's just stick with Pez or Popsicle. God, there's a lot of good
Yeah,
ones. This
Popsicle's pretty good too.
P is pretty good. All right, I'm liking this.
Yeah, because O, there was like one choice with O, right?
Right. I mean, oh, it's just
Yeah.
it's Oreo. It's got to be
But
it.
P, it's gonna get interesting. We might have to do like a question of the day on that. Let everyone weigh in. We got to do like official weigh in before we start getting there.
Yes.
Right, see if anyone's right.
Yeah, that way we can make sure who we have to pay when they're correct.
That's
Get a little
right.
pool going, office pool going.
All right, so you have a bold prediction on Android Wear for 2018. Do you want
Oh
to share
yes,
that?
yeah. Super Bowl prediction: Android Wear will be discontinued in 2018. As we've seen,
Ooh.
I know, hot takes. I'm just not. I'm not feeling Android Wear anymore. At least in terms of the support we're seeing for it from Google, they just don't seem all that involved or all that caring about the
No, they
platform.
don't like they care about
Yeah.
it at all.
They gave us the LG Watch Sport and the LG Watch Style, and I don't think anything has happened with those smartwatches since they released. Maybe updates, little updates here and there, but all we've seen are their prices go down, and that's about it. Android Wear,
It's basically just
you're
fashion brands making them now,
exactly. You're
which is
fired.
fine because fashion brands are the ones that know how to market and sell watches. So it's not like that's the worst thing. The problem is they're not technology companies. I think we got roped in early on to being like, well, Motorola and Huawei and Samsung, they all need to make these watches because they're tech companies. But it's like watches are fashion items. They're not tech items. And I know we're starting to merge those two,
Right.
but maybe companies like Fossil and Michael Kors, like maybe they'll know how to actually get these on the wrists of people because that's what they do, right? They get watches on people's wrists. So, but yeah, it still feels like a weird mix. And Android Wear doesn't seem to be improving. Maybe the Android Wear 3.0 will come out like this year, right? And it'll change everything because 2.0 I think was a massive downgrade in experience over the original.
Well,
I
2.0 was
hate Android
supposed
Wear
to
2.
save the platform. I mean,
Yeah,
2.0 was handwriting gestures and whatnots and
it's so bad.
emoji.
It's
Dude,
so bad. I
it's bad.
I was telling Tim before the show, like, I've been using that Verizon Wear 24 that was discontinued because it actually is like the perfect size, nice design. And I have one here for some reason. Verizon doesn't seem to want it back. I've used it and I've also used the Huawei Watch 2 because I got one really cheap over Black Friday. I've been using them off and on for the last like 2 weeks. And I tried to just dive back in. And Android Wear 2.0 is so bad. Like some swipe gestures that used to work don't do what we want anymore. They want you to click buttons to go back and stuff like that now, but sometimes that just sends you home. Like it's tough to like you have to tap some stuff which gets you to another card which you can maybe interact with on some stuff, and then you're like, well, do I have to hit back twice to get it? Like the UI is so confusing and so terrible, and like NFC never really showed up except on like one or two watches maybe. It's just Android Wear is it's a mess right now.
It's a mess.
So maybe these fashion brands could do it. I think the only thing that will save it in terms of tech eyes would be if Google makes their own. And I think this year Google needs to make their own Android Wear watch. Just give it a shot. Just make your own Pixel watch.
Sure.
And I think they need to make a new Android TV box, which I've talked about previously. I think those two things need to happen. But I think if Google wants Android Wear to still be alive, it's time to make their own damn watch, right? We thought the LG or the watch style and watch sport, like we kind of thought maybe those were going to be Google's watches, but they weren't. They were made in partnership with LG, but LG sold them. They were LG branded. I think Google has to. And if they don't make a watch this year, I say, yeah, just kill it. At this point, who cares? Because I don't know that any of these fashion brands so far we've seen that they're like selling tons of these things.
Yeah, are they making a killing off
I
those? I
don't think
seriously
so.
doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think they are. So
It just reminds me that less is more. My favorite Seiko watch, all it does is tell me the time and it gives me a date. And I wear this thing all the time because it just works and it's not confusing.
yeah.
And that's what I really enjoyed about the Moto 360, the OG. like the hottest thing that was ever put out for your wrist.
Yeah.
And really, I just use it for my Google Now feed, which is also dead thanks to Google. It just worked. It showed me the weather, showed me the time, showed me the date, and that was it. Like, I didn't need all these fancy doodads and special features and gestures and all that stuff. Like, just show me my notifications, the weather, and let's call it a day. A smartwatch doesn't need to cost $450. If someone wants like a fitness tracker, go get a Garmin, go get a Polar or something like that. Get something specifically made for that. I don't want to see LG, Huawei, Motorola, or whoever trying to make this hybrid sports watch / fashion watch. It just doesn't work.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I mean, if you want a workout item, there's companies that specialize in that. Like I wear a Garmin Phoenix 5. That's what I wear when I do my runs, when I work out that. Like, and I buy that because it's specially made for working out, and it lasts like 2 weeks, right? And it has some smart stuff. I get some notifications or whatnot. Like, there are ones that are geared for that are do better than Android Wear will. And then if you just want like some of those extra smarts that Android Wear is supposed to do, I just don't know that it does them well enough to like actually make it worth it. That's the problem. Like, Android Wear doesn't do anything great.
Nope.
Like, there isn't like a standout Android Wear for you. Like, Apple right now, they actually went the right direction when they started turning the Apple Watch into a sports watch, right? Like, people that, like my wife, all the people she works out with, they all have Apple Watches. Every single one of them. Like, that's what they wear. They wear it to work out. It checks their heart rate. They probably send each other stupid heart messages or whatever they do. But it's a fitness watch. That's kind of what the Apple Watch is now. And Android Wear it never really got there. A couple people I think tried to make them, but like, are people really going to buy a Huawei watch? I mean, like, think about that. Like, we know who that is, but like, are most people a Motorola watch? I mean, if they somehow talked Garmin into making like an Android Wear watch, maybe, or Polar. I think is it Polar that made one? I think Polar has one, right?
I think they do, like an M6 something.
Yeah, I think they have one. It just doesn't seem like there's a great direction for Android Wear, other than now it's trying to just go to fashion brands, and maybe that's just where it dies.
The fashion brands are at least cool because, I mean, they're brands, they're watch faces you like. They're classic, but damn, they're expensive. Like, I can't drop $800 to $1,500.
Well, yeah, if you go up there in the luxury stuff, like, yeah, it's just crazy.
It just gets ridiculous. And Android users have a problem spending $900 on the best phone out there. You think they're going to spend more on a smartwatch?
Right.
Come on, that runs,
or even like $350 on
Android Wear. Exactly.
It's
Android
not
Wear
really updates anymore. I mean, like, they just released Oreo for Android Wear. There's nothing new about it. It doesn't do anything different, I don't think.
It's a doomed platform.
So anyway, Tim says it's dead. I say it won't be dead if Google actually makes their own watch. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. You want to talk anything else about 2017, 2018?
Gosh. Shout out to everyone who joined us over the course of these shows or read the blog throughout 2017, read our reviews, commented, emailed us, tweeted us, everything. Huge shout out to you guys.
I feel like we've had a lot of good conversations in shows now, like the live chat. Like, shout out the live chat.
Live chat.
And a lot of you guys are here every single show, even when we like change time and do shows as we can. Like, that's a good in-show conversations in the chat. So if you are listening later and you're missing these live, you're missing out on the chat, because the chat is the chat's pretty legit.
I like the chat.
Yeah.
Shout out to the chat.
Yeah, sometimes it just directs us in a new area for a while.
I love it.
Good stuff. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. I have anything else either. I hope everyone has a very safe end of 2017.
Don't play with fireworks.
Yeah, do not. Yeah, please don't light off fireworks. Don't be those people. Okay, you can light off a couple, but like not for like 3 days straight. Just New Year's Eve only, please. I know you all have the week off or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Don't be rude.
Yeah.
Think about your neighbors.
But yeah, 2018 should be fun. I know I just said it's going to be boring. It'll be
super
fun.
boring and terrible.
It's going to be fun. I try to set the expectations low so I'm blown away, right?
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 2018,
18.
and we'll have some more fun. We are Droid Life.
Peace.
Peace.